Again, the problem is it's prying my ass out of this chair in the evenings. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Just another struggling writer. The Beleaguered Authors one-stop shop for commiseration and hopefully inspiration. My name is Carrie Scher, and I am just another struggling writer. Well, good morning. Today is Monday, September 15th, which marks exactly 1 week before the start of my seasonal writing challenge, Finish Your Book Fall, in which I hope to write the last 75 to 85,000 words of my current work in progress, Seekers of Empyrean, which is, of course, my Monster of the Week inspired urban fantasy about a young woman who is recruited by a secret government agency for her rare magical ability in order to stop a growing threat to the magical community. I said that a little bit out of order, but oh well, you get the gist. I'm currently in the middle of draft 2, and ever since I got back from vacation in July, I have been really struggling to be creative. And even after recommitting myself to the project, I've just been really struggling to get back into it. So Finish Your Book Fall is my way of pushing myself to actually get this draft done before the end of the year, so I can hopefully focus 2026 on starting and finishing draft 3 and getting this project query ready, because I do believe that I want to query it. But we got to get there first, which means I have got to finish my book. So what am I doing here 1 week before that challenge even starts? Well, I talked a little bit in that video about some of the habits and processes I want to change in order to give myself a better shot at success for this challenge. And so I think I want to use this week as a sort of beta test for some of those habits and changes. That way I can see what's working, what might need to be adjusted, and what I can lock in for the rest of the fall. Hey! It's not a snack bar. Specifically, I'm going to focus on 3 main scheduling and habit changes. The first is my morning routine. The biggest change is that I am switching my shower routine from night to morning. And the reason I am traditionally a nighttime showerer is because I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning person at all. In fact, I have contrived pretty much my whole life to get out of bed as late as humanly possible and still be on time to get my kids to school and to work. But now that school is back in session, I am having to get up much earlier than I would normally like to get my kids up. And in the past, what I would normally do with this time is go back to bed and lay down for another 45 minutes. But it hasn't really been helpful. I certainly don't get quality rest during that time, and I definitely don't go back to sleep. And so instead, I would like to use this time for something useful. I did try writing in this space, but again, I'm not a morning person. I'm really not fully awake yet until 9 o'clock. And so writing didn't work out. So I'm switching gears. Instead, I am moving my shower time to the morning because, again, I'm not using this time for much at the moment anyway. And that will give me half an hour at night back so that I can use that hopefully towards writing, because my writing time traditionally is at night, pretty close to when I go to bed anyway. That's the first part of my morning routine that I am changing, and as you can see, I've already stepped into that. The second part is using the rest of this time to read. Reading is something that's kind of fallen by the wayside over the last couple of months since I got into draft 2 of Seekers of Empyrean, and that is just because I am just focusing so much of my time and energy on writing that I just don't have the bandwidth or really the time to do a lot of reading. But again, I'm here in the mornings. I don't have much else to do. So I feel like this is almost the perfect time to get some reading done. So I've got a couple of different books that I need to be reading this week. The first that I would like to try and finish hopefully today, if not this morning, is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I've been reading this off and on for several weeks now. It is a library loan, so I read a little bit of it, my loan lapses, I have to go on the hold list, I get it back, I do it again, but I'm very close to the end. I have just about 100 pages left in the book, which is about 80%. And I think I can knock this out today. Maybe not this morning, but maybe later in the day. The other thing is about today is I'm already kind of thrown out of my normal routine because my daughter has a dentist appointment at 9 a.m. So I'm not going straight to work. I am going to take her to her dentist appointment and then to work. But again, I'm hoping to get some of that reading done. So I'm going to settle in. I've got my Kindle here, Sorcery of Thorns. and I am going to get a little bit of reading done, and I will check in with you guys later. Okay, well, it is several hours later, a few hours later, I wouldn't say several. I am pulling up to work after my daughter's dentist appointment, and quick update, I did finish Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I really, really liked it. I'm not a big YA person, as you guys may know. I tend to think I'm just a little too old for it. But this one actually really appealed to me. The writing, while YA, didn't feel like it was dumbed down at all, like it was dumbing down the plot or dumbing down like the characters' actions to appeal to a teenage audience. So I appreciated that. A lot of times I feel like YA, and this is not its fault, it's like by design, has to kind of simplify plots and simplify things in order to fit the category and fit the mental development of its protagonist. And while that's fine for YA, it's just not for me. And so I tend to avoid YA. But this one, actually, I just really, really liked. I liked the main character. I liked the plot. And I didn't feel like it was so juvenile that I was rolling my eyes a lot of the time. So I really liked it. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars just because it is hard for me to give YA super high ratings. I finished that. And while I was at my daughter's dentist appointment, which ran super long, I managed to read like the first 75 pages of A Forgery of Fate by Elizabeth Lim. And this is another YA, so I gotta be careful here. But it's been on my list all summer pretty much. And I keep delaying the hold at the library. I read the first 75 pages. This does not have the same sort of feel that Sorcery of Thorns did, but I'm intrigued. I kind of like the premise of this main character who is a art forger. I'm just kind of curious to see how that links to the rest of the plot, because like if you look at it at all, you know this is a Beauty and Beast retelling. So I'm just like, I'm trying to see how these two things are going to connect. But I've read the first 75 pages, which is like the first 18%. So all of that to say, that is very long-winded to say that I did read and successfully finish the book that I was trying to finish today. So I'm gonna go into work and get a very late start on the rest of my morning routine. Good evening. It is now truly many hours later. In fact, it is just about 9 o'clock on Monday evening, and I am just about ready to get started on my second of these 3 habits that I am trying to establish. So habit number 2 is editing every single day, doing some video editing every day. And part of the reason I am trying to make this a thing is because I have been really struggling lately to want to edit. I haven't really been having fun with it. I want so bad to be an aesthetic girly or be someone who has really clever editing or is someone who is at least efficient at it. And I am unfortunately none of those things. And since I am none of those things, I don't really get a lot of joy out of it because I don't really see the return in terms of like y'all's enjoyment. And I hate to like break that down, or I hate to attach like that to my numbers and my growth as a content creator, but that's kind of like, where else are you going to interpret from that? I have always said that I do this as a hobby, and that is still true. It is still fun to talk to the camera, but ever since I've been back from vacation, doing the edits has not been fun at all. In fact, it's kind of been miserable, and I'm trying to get back into a regular habit so it doesn't feel like such a chore. My goal with that is to just be doing it every day, and hopefully by doing it every day rather than trying to cram it all in the night before a video is due, I'm saving myself time, I'm saving myself stress, and I'm giving myself the chance to play with the edits a little bit more because of the extra time. Does that make sense? Now tonight I am getting started a little bit late. My goal was to be editing from 8:30 to 9:30. That being said, I have been slacking on the content creation lately, so I don't actually have anything to film, or I haven't filmed anything to edit except for the stuff I've done today. So I decided I was gonna, cut myself a little bit of slack since I am still struggling with motivation editing wise, and because I really just don't have that much footage to edit just yet anyway. So I'm gonna go over and do a little bit of that, and then we will get into habit number 3. And you know what my other problem is, low key, is this right here. It's my heated blanket. I cannot begin to tell you how many times I have ignored the things that I thought that I wanted to do, content creation, writing, whatever, because I've just been too cozy in this chair with this blanket. It's a real problem. It's on right now, and I'm like, well, do I really need to edit today? Do I really need to write today? It's day one. It's day one, you guys. Okay, it is now just after 9:30, and I have just finished with my editing for the evening. And I did find that the not having the pressure of having to edit like a 40-minute video or 25-minute video in one sitting did kind of help a little bit. It was nice to just be like, oh, I only have to edit like 10 minutes of footage down, and I got that down to like 6 minutes, and that took me just over half an hour. Hopefully, if I can maintain that habit and I can motivate myself to get out of my chair, not from under this blanket, that will hold, and that will actually just create positive associations in my brain with editing again. So here's hoping. That is 2 for 3. The third habit is to do writing at my writing desk in my bedroom. Something I have come to accept is that if I sit here in the chair with this blanket, I'm gonna do one of two things, usually. I'm gonna have my laptop open and I might write 80 words, but what I'm gonna do more is I'm gonna watch TV, or I'm gonna do cross stitching, or I'm gonna dick around on my phone, and occasionally I'll type a sentence or two, and I'll call that writing. Or I will do all of that, and then I'll recline back in my seat to say, oh, I'm just thinking of what I'm gonna write next, and then I'm gonna fall asleep. An Atomic Habit says that having a specific space for the habit you're trying to build, and like carving out specific spaces for specific kinds of tasks, will really help program your brain so that you can sit down in the space where you do the work and the work will get done. The problem is for me right now is that I am sitting down in a space that I associate with relaxing and watching TV and doing my cross stitch and doing reading and whatever. And so it is just harder for my brain to engage in work when I'm sitting here. That's just the way it is. I think that by sitting at my work desk, I can start associating that space with the writing, and that I'll get more writing done while I'm there. Again, the problem is it's prying my ass out of this chair in the evenings. Especially over the last couple of months, I've really, really valued my leisure time. The way that my schedule works out right now is that my leisure time is right in the middle of the evening. I'm coming home from work, I'm making dinner, and then I'm relaxing, and then I'm having to get up and do work again. I don't really love that configuration of my time. I also don't see a way around it. I do not want to be working when my kids are still up and it's still like family time. So that is just a matter of willpower that I'm going to have to instill in myself. I'm just going to have to suck it up and do it and make that my routine. And once I get into the routine, and once it is truly a habit, it won't feel like I'm literally rolling a will save every time it's time to get up and do the thing. That is just the way it's going to have to work. So I am going to get up and get my writing space ready, and I will check in with you momentarily. Good morning. It is now Tuesday morning, and remember when I told you just in that last clip that I was trying to avoid hanging out in my recliner, especially to do writing, because I will either get distracted, do other things, or I will lay down and fall asleep? Yeah, so the reason I don't have footage for you is because I kind of did exactly that. But I do have a good reason, and I did accomplish part of the thing that I was trying to do. So lately I have been stuck in the draft because I realized I really need to think more deeply and put a lot more detail into the magic system. If you're new here, my magic system is movement based. You cannot cast magic unless you have performed the requisite movement. And in the world building phase and in the first draft, really, I kind of did not put a lot of thought into fleshing that out for reasons that make sense in the draft. But with all the changes to the second draft that I'm making, particularly the realization that I had early on in the second draft that I needed to make combat much more of a focus and include a lot more of it, I realized that I really do need to flesh it out and have more detail and think really, really seriously about the rules and like the language of the magic so that it all has internal logic and that it makes sense and that people aren't going in book 5, hey, that movement doesn't match the one that was in book 2. You know, like I need it to all make sense. And so I've come up on the scene where my main character is learning all of these movements, and I just need to be able to be able to explain why they are the way that they are. And so for the last week or so, I've been putting more thought into that. As of Sunday, I got the like where your feet are and how that relates to the spell figured out. Now I have to figure out the upper portion, like how you're gonna like what the movement of your arms mean. And so last night I needed to brainstorm ideas for that. I really did think about going and sitting at my desk and doing that, but I truly do get better ideas when I am deprived of stimulus, primarily like when I'm laying down and pretending to go to sleep. Those are when the brainwaves come. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll just lay down for 20 minutes. And if that doesn't work, then I'll get up. And I did get some ideas. Like, it was productive. I do need to do some more fleshing out of the ideas that I got, because unfortunately I did end up falling asleep. But like I said, I still remember all the ideas I came up with. I just need to put some more, I need to actually sit down with my notebook now and figure that out. I would say I'm like 30% of the way there for this upper half of your body and what all that means for the magic. So I need to finish figuring that part out. I have no idea how long this is going to take me. This is really something I should have decided in the world building phase, but I was afraid that if I spent too long on it, because like truly there are so many different like configurations of movements that it would be impossible to decide every single one. And I was afraid that if I spent too much time on it, I would lose energy and lose momentum for the idea at all. So I got the basics down and moved on. And now it's important to get the details. So I don't know how long this is going to take me, but I do plan to be back drafting for Finish Your Book Fall. So it cannot take longer than this week. Ideally, it would take a lot less than a week, but I've already been working on it for a week. And anyway, so it is now Tuesday morning. I did get up, I did shower, but unfortunately I have to take my daughter to her choir sectional, right in the middle of this time that I normally have. So I'm not going to have a ton of reading that I'm able to do, but I'm going to try and get a little bit done. Since I was able to finish Sorcery of Thorns yesterday, I am going to return to my physical reads here at my house and rely on my library books when I'm out of the house. And so this morning I will be focusing on The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. I have been picking this up on and off since the end of July. I really love Mark Lawrence's writing, but this is a very long one. I'm 100 pages in and it's almost 700 pages. And the text is so tiny. So it's very dense. The main plot hook hasn't quite gotten to me yet, so it's just been a little bit of a slog. I still do like his writing, and I still think that this will end up being a really good book. I'm just having a hard time sinking into it. So I'm going to try and get a few pages read of this. And then today, my other daughter has not one, but 2 doctor's appointments. She is getting her braces put on, then she has a regular doctor's appointment. So I will have a lot of time out of the house to do a little bit of digital reading. My plan for that is to continue reading Forgery of Fate by Elizabeth Lim. I picked it up yesterday when I was out and about after I finished Sorcery of Thorns. I think I mentioned all this already, but anyway. So I'm going to do a little bit more reading in that. And my day is just all thrown off already, but that's just the way it is. So anyway, so I am going to sit back, relax, and do a little bit of reading before I have to go run my errands. Hello, good morning. Sorry about the angle, but I ran out of time this morning to do literally anything. It is Wednesday morning, and yesterday, I will say that I feel like I did hit all 3 of my new habits that I'm trying to form. Getting up, reading, even if it was just a little bit, doing some daily video editing, and writing. Now, to be fair, I really lollygagged on doing the video edits. I was again struggling to want to get out of my chair and stop what I was doing, which was cross stitching and watching Ghost Hunters, to do work. I finally finished the background of my cross stitch pattern, which is like all white, so it's super boring to look at, and it's just taken so much time. I was really excited to move on to other parts of the pattern, and like the very next color that I picked to work on was like a very, very slightly blue shade of white. But like I'm excited. I think now that I'm done with the background, it'll probably take me I feel like I'm halfway done now with the pattern now that I'm done with the background. Anyway, it was like 9:30 when I started edits, and usually I'm starting at like 8:30. Then it was like 10:30 when I was finally sitting down to do any like significant writing, and it wasn't really that significant. What I showed you was almost the gist of it, but I was working more on my magic system. When I had left off the other day with my brainstorming, I felt like there was something missing with the step that I was on, and I didn't have the brain power to piece in what I thought was missing. Yesterday, I feel like I did piece that in, and I feel fairly confident that I can move on from that. Although, after I went to bed, I did think, I should probably come up with a few more things to slot into this. It's hard to explain, but basically, like, I'm trying to come up with like what each motion means for a spell. So if like you're constructing a spell, then where you put your feet matters, right? With what the spell does, and how you move your arms matter with what the spell does. It's like a recipe. If you put your feet in this configuration, it's this kind of spell, and if you move your arm in this way, it does this kind of thing, and then your other arm kind of like shapes your intention. The problem is like I keep coming up with like, okay, well, I have these different kinds of like types of spells or types of actions that you can take with these spells, but I have several more arm motions or foot placements or whatever and I feel pressure to fill them in so that every possible permutation has a meaning. I am struggling a little bit with that, but I am kind of to the point now where I think I have enough where I can safely move on, because there's like potentially thousands of combinations with all of these different movements. It would be pointless to try and document them all before I write, this next scene. And I have enough where I can kind of explain what I have in the text to my main character, who is also learning all of this. Wow, this is a horrible angle. I'm so sorry about this, but I really wanted to get some filming done today. Anyway, so the good news, all of that to say, the good news is that I feel like I can move on now and actually write new words again. So tonight, that is going to be my goal, is to write new words. That being said, I have noticed, and I have been thinking about Wednesdays. Wednesdays are the days of my daughter's weekly appointments, and because of the distance from my house and how long they are, it takes about 2 hours out of my evening, and those are usually the 2 hours that I have carved out for leisure. And so over the last couple of weeks, as I have been trying to get back into the swing of things, I have noticed that Wednesdays are particularly hard for me to be productive, because if you look at like my evening schedule, the 2 hours that I would normally use for leisure are being taken up by this appointment, and then I come home and I'm immediately expecting myself to get back to work. So I have been toying with the idea of giving myself Wednesday as a cheat day so that I can have some leisure in there. Something else I've been kicking around is bringing my laptop to this appointment while I am in the waiting room and trying to get some words done there, so that way the time doesn't feel wasted, because most of the time I'm just sitting there looking at my phone the whole time. And sometimes I'll bring a book, but a lot of times I'm just looking at my phone. Now what I could do is I have an app on my phone that I can set up like blocks where I can block myself from using other apps. I could set that up for that hour. That might work and help me stay on topic. that I might actually have to do that. Anyway, I'm just kind of kicking that around just as a way to use that hour for something productive rather than just sitting around on my phone. If it's reading or writing, either way, on Wednesdays, I always come back and I feel like, oh, I should have done something with that hour. I was just sitting there. The thing about like being on your phone and being on like social media and stuff is it doesn't feel like leisure anymore, does it? It feels like brain rot and it feels like depressing. So it rarely makes me feel better even when I do that. Anyway, we'll see what happens tonight. I think that's everything that I wanted to talk to you about. So I am going to leave it there and I will talk to y'all later. Hey, good morning, y'all. It is now Thursday morning, and let me tell you a little bit about my day yesterday, or part of my day yesterday. After my meeting, I went back to my main office, and it was close to the end of the day. Most people had left, and I was kind of wrapping up my day at work, and I had a severe crash out, almost in tears, just sitting at my desk. And the source of this crash out is just overwhelm. I am just so overwhelmed right now. The last month at work has been pretty tough in a way that I haven't experienced before. I can't really go into it, but point is it was just very, very difficult and very, very mentally strenuous in a way that I probably could have handled if it weren't for everything else going on, which is my kids needing a bunch of these different doctor's appointments. My daughter especially, I've spent almost $1,000 in 1 month on her mouth. Ever since we got back from the cruise, she has been having really bad toothaches, and then we took her in and found out that like her back 2 molars are just fucked up beyond recognition. So we needed to take her in for both of those anyway, and she needed a bunch of fillings. So yeah, like almost $1,000, not to mention all of the time spent outside of the office. There's that aspect of it. And then there's also this class that I am taking this term really stressing me out. And I really haven't even started the work yet. I have this week. This week is where the work really started, which is why I think the crash out happened now. But my classes are 8-week terms, and typically you have one major project at the end of the term that makes up the bulk of your grade, sometimes 2. This class has 4, and they're all research papers, and you can't even pick the topic. This week, the first one is due, and I was thinking about it yesterday, and I just got so overwhelmed to the point where I was crashing out and nearly in tears, and I just was really struggling. And what was compounding that feeling was that because I'm so stressed out because of work and, money and being out of the office for doctor's appointments and school stuff, because of all that stress, I'm not able to go home and have the mental energy to take part in the things that I want to take part in, which is writing and content creation and reading. I just don't have the mental energy. Like yesterday, after my crash out, I went home and I told my daughter, I'm so sorry, you're going to have to do a virtual appointment this week because I don't have it in me to go to another appointment and take 2 hours out of my evening to do that again. And then I just laid in my recliner literally and did nothing until 10:30 when I went to bed. I watched Ghost Hunters and I did cross stitching. And I didn't think about content creation. I didn't think about writing. I didn't think about this video of my habits that I'm trying to establish as I get ready for what is supposed to be a big writing challenge that I'm now concerned that I'm not going to have the energy for. So I'm just in a rough spot right now. And the worst part of it is that there's really nothing I can do. Obviously, work is work. It pays the bills, puts food in our mouths. If it stresses me out, that is part of having a job. And it is really not a good time for me to be taking time off because A, I've been out of the office so much, and B, other people have time that they're taking off. It's just not a good time. And then school is there's a time and financial commitment that I've already sunk so much into. I've been doing this coming up on 3 years now. I can't really throw that by the wayside either. I did consider dropping this class, but I don't know that it will ultimately help me. I would have to ask if it's a necessary part of my degree. It is a business class. It's not like it's an elective that doesn't make any sense for my degree. It definitely makes sense for the degree. So I don't know if I could swap this out with another business class. I don't know. And I'm already 3 weeks, like this is the 3rd week into it. Anyway, so these 4 research papers are gonna have to get done, whether I like it or not. I definitely don't like it, and whether I have the time or energy for it or not. And like I said, it's just so frustrating because I wanna go home and write, and I wanna go home and make content, and I wanna do all these things. Those are the things that bring me joy, and I don't have the energy for them. And it's so frustrating, which then compounds the issue of I'm not truly relaxing. I'm not truly purging the negativity or the stress because I'm just going home and doing nothing. And then I feel guilty because I did nothing. And it's just this cycle. But I slept, and I don't know that I would say I'm feeling better this morning, but I am sort of feeling resigned. That sounds more negative than what I'm meaning, but like it's just like, okay, well, I better lock in, just like I have to get this done. This is what it is. And I'm wasting energy and time being in my feelings about it. So this morning, my intention is to just lock in and just to get it done. I'm going to spend a significant part of my free time today working on the paper, and tomorrow, and probably Saturday, so that way it's off my mind. If that means that I'm sacrificing writing time this evening and editing this evening, it is what it is. This has to get done. And right now it is just weighing on me, and putting it off is only making it worse. So today I'm going to focus on getting the first part of the paper done. And then tomorrow I'll get a little bit more done. And you know what I mean? It's due on Sunday. And that's kind of where I'm at today. I didn't get up and read this morning. I should have. The other thing is like the news fucking sucks right now. It just fucking sucks right now. So I got stuck in this negative feedback loop of social media last night, and that also really didn't help. It just sucks right now. I'm going through it, and I didn't think I was until yesterday. And I realized I have this monster paper that I haven't even started yet. I've been out of the office, all this money I've spent on my daughter's dentist stuff. And that's what it was. I remember now. I got an email from my insurance saying that all of her coverage had been used for the year, and she is due for another appointment in 3 weeks. I'm just having a time right now. 2025 has not been my year. Or is it just right now? It's really just been the last 2 months that's been hard. I am done. I just want to kind of clue you in and let you know kind of what I am going through right now. I feel like I've been kind of holding all of this at bay, and then yesterday everything came together in a culmination of just realizations and stress and everything, and I bottomed out. I was literally almost crying. Like I was having to hold it back. Today, like I said, I don't feel better, but I'm locking in. So I will say this, thank you guys so much for being here and leaving your nice comments, because those are what I have turned to in those moments of stress. First of all, knowing that I'm not alone in these struggles. Writing can be so isolating, right? It can be so isolating because we're doing this work on our own most of the time. And when we struggle to feel motivated, when we struggle to make time, when we struggle with our mental health, and writing is the sacrificial lamb, as we move through our struggles, it can feel like, why is it me? Why can't I do what everyone else is obviously doing? And I think social media is part of this, where we don't share our struggles. We're sharing our wins more often. And so like just having the comments saying, oh my gosh, I know exactly what you're going through. This is my struggle. You're not alone. Those are the comments I'm looking for. So I just so appreciate you guys. And I appreciate this being a safe space for me to tell you what I'm going through. Anyway, I'm done. I have now been talking for almost 17 minutes, and I am going to go inside. And like I said, I'm going to lock in, and I'm going to get my shit done. And, all of this is going to feel so, not silly, but and not even really small, but it's just going to feel so like a footnote when I get there, when I get to where I'm going, and it'll be fine. I just need to get through it. So if you're getting through it right now, let me know, and we'll commiserate together. Talk to you later. I just want it on the record that if Taylor Swift releases a movie for Life of a Showgirl the weekend I am at a writing conference, I am going to ugly cry. I'm just saying. My two hobbies cannot interfere with each other, right? Like, I know that this is not a Taylor Swift video. This is a habit, lifestyle, writing vlog, but I'm just gonna say that I have been waiting for an Eras Tour documentary for well over a year, since before the last part of the US leg last year. Really since London, I have been waiting for a documentary, or I've been like really manifesting a documentary. We all know that The Life of a Showgirl is like the behind the curtain, that's how she's described it, of her life while on the tour. Please let this be a documentary. I mean, if it's just like a making of the album, I'll take that too. But I really would like just the behind the scenes on the tour. The one thing I'm dying to know is like how she comes up with mashups, right? But also just how crazy her life, the way her life like changed so dramatically from the start of the tour to the end. She ended a 6-year relationship and had this kind of crazy whirlwind situationship, and then ended up meeting the love of her life all within like 5-6 months of each other. Crazy. And then you intersperse that with like the toll it takes on her body and the traveling and everything that went on. Please give it to me. Feed it directly, put it directly into my veins. And if I have to give up watching that to attend a not inexpensive conference that I paid for that is supposed to help me in my chosen career, choices will be made. I hope I don't regret them. Hello, good morning. It is now Friday morning, and I am feeling much better. Yesterday, I kind of did what I said. I locked in and spent a prodigious amount of hours working on my paper. Unfortunately, despite the amount of hours I put in, I didn't actually accomplish that much in terms of words on the page for the paper. So I'm trying not to freak out. I do still have 3 days. One is a work day and one is a day where I'm going to a baseball game with my kids. So it's like gonna take up the majority of my day. But I did a bunch of the research. Actually, I say that, but I don't even know that that's true. My problem with this paper in this class, besides the fact that we can't pick the topic or the industry that we're supposed to be researching, is that it's just asking for so much data. And like the whole point of the class is to teach us to do business research, so that the research is the point. I get that. I still hate it. In fact, yesterday, it's funny that I mentioned yesterday wanting to drop it because my advisor just happened to call to check on me. And I was like, I'm having a hard time. And I was wondering if this is something that can be dropped. And he was like, nah, bitch, it's a core class. And I kind of figured it was. It seems like a core class for business. It doesn't mean I have to like it, though. So it is just what it is. And this might be the first class where I just take the time I need to get the work done rather than getting it done on time. I am a person where I hate being late, and I've never intentionally turned an assignment in late. If I have turned in assignments late in the past, but it's because I forgot or was sick or there were extenuating circumstances. This might be a time where I'm like, I don't have the hours in the day or the mental capacity, and I need more time. And that might just be how it is. I say that, of course, which means I'll probably be in my recliner all day working on it to make sure it's in on time. Anyway, so all that to say, I feel a little bit better. I'm not quite as overwhelmed. The good thing about the work stuff is that it should be like the extra load I've been shouldering should be kind of wearing off here in the next couple of weeks. We're gonna have a new manager in, and it's just gonna take some of the burden off of me, and I think and just knowing that is already a load off my mind. And also just like giving myself permission to take a step back from content and writing and things to get like my schoolwork done. It is those moments where I think I have to do all of it in one day that I really start to spiral, which is what I think caused the spiral the other day. As I was like, I had convinced myself that I have to do all of these things on the same day. I have to, write this paper, but I also have to leave time for content creation and writing and reading and all this stuff. And then just remembering that it's impossible, unfortunately. There's just not enough hours in the day for all of the things that I want to do. And right now, unfortunately, this paper has to take priority. I did some other stuff yesterday too, like in my downtime. So I'm coming up on DFW Con, which is this writers conference in my metro area. I went a long time ago. I want to say it was 2019 that I went, and I had a really good time, I had just finished the first draft of the only other project I finished a first draft of, and I was excited to talk to people about it, and I had a really good time. Even though I'm an introvert, I became an extrovert there. I was asking everyone about their books. I was like really like interested in meeting people. I had a really good time in the classes and the panels. I've tried to get in a couple of other years and it just hasn't worked out. So one of the things I remember for the first time is that a lot of attendees like had business cards, and they're really like, oh, I'm an author and here are my socials. And I thought that was such a cute idea that I made some a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago, that I didn't get to use because I didn't end up going to the conference. And I thought, oh, maybe I could do that again now that I have like a platform and I'm like further along in the process than I've ever been. So I got into Canva and I started designing some business cards. I'm gonna finish that today probably. I was having a really hard time with what I was gonna put on the back, but while I was brushing my teeth this morning, I had an idea of what I'm gonna use the space in the back for. So I'm gonna finish that today and get those ordered. Hopefully they'll be here in time. At the conference is in 2 weeks. I've just got some content creation things I wanna do. I've had this video, this like resetting for Finish Your Book Fall video planned and partially filmed for like almost 3 weeks. And I just need to finish like planning it and just sit down and film it. I just really wanted to say I'm feeling better, but my evening habits had to take a step back to make room for this project that I'm working on. I'm gonna do more work on it today. It is what it is. I have to get this done. It's just so frustrating that I spent so much. Anyway, they've broken the project, it's a paper really, into 3 parts. And I was like, yesterday I was like, if I can get part 1 and half of part 2 done today, then I can leave the rest of for the weekend. And that didn't work out. I got maybe a third of part 1 done. I did a bunch of research. I did a bunch of the research. Anyway, it's exhausting. And I can't believe I have to do this 3 more times in this class. I just gotta tough it out. And then my advisor, he was so funny. He was like, well, if it makes you feel better, you have Principles of Management next class. And I've heard that one's really easy. Anyway, I'm just rambling now, which means it is time to go inside and get my day started. And I will check in with you guys later. Look, how original, another car update. But I have good news for me anyway. I could not feel more different leaving work today than I did 2 days ago. I was able to use my lunch break today to knock out another big chunk of this project, and I think I'm like 50% of the way done. It might even be 2/3, just depending on how much research this next section takes. But I've knocked out a big chunk of it, and now I'm feeling like the rest of this I can do, if not tonight, then tonight and part of tomorrow, and be done with. Whereas 2 days ago, I truly did not know if I would get it done in time or get it done at all. So that's great. And it has also kind of illuminated how much of the stress that I was feeling the other day was centered completely on this project and this big paper. And the time crunch I was feeling, because now that I've started it and now that I've gotten a decent chunk of the way into it, and now it's looking like I'm not going to miss my deadline, I feel so much better. I also finished designing my business cards for DFW Con. I am a little bit nervous about them because there's like a lot of text on the back. I kind of put my 1-sentence pitch for the book on the back of the card. So there's a little bit more text than I think you would like for a business card. But my goal with that was to be able to use a business card like that to kind of pitch myself as a writer. You know, you can pitch it to however many people you want, but in a conference like that, you're talking to so many people that I wouldn't expect it to stick unless it like really grabs you. And so I think by putting it on my business card with my contact information, it will help people remember the premise better. And I also put like my socials on there. We'll see, it'll be interesting. And then the Life of a Showgirl release party movie thing got announced, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I dropped everything to get in the queue to get a ticket. That is the weekend of my conference. So what I did was I got a ticket for Friday night after my workshop is over. So the conference kicks off with an optional workshop that I paid to attend. So Friday afternoon, the 3rd, I will be attending this workshop, this writing workshop. I'm really excited about it. It's the first one I'm ever taking or being a part of, so I'm pretty jazzed. And then right after I'm done with the workshop, I'm going to drive straight to the movie theater and go see Life of a Showgirl. I'm pretty excited. And then that whole weekend will be conference stuff. So that's coming up in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So kind of a big deal. And then this weekend, I just have some plans. I'm going to do a little bit of a fall reset to get ready for Finish Your Book Fall. I've got to finish filming the video associated with that idea so that it can be ready to go up on Tuesday. Yeah, I guess I should probably do some more of my habits that I originally ostensibly themed this video after, right? So anyway, I am almost home. I am so glad it's Friday. I am so glad to know that I am not going to crash and burn in this class. Although I imagine in 2 weeks when the next project is, you know, due, that I will have a similar crisis. I just have to get through it. This is one of those classes that I just have to get through. Just have to get through it. So anyway, that's all. I am going to change into my sweatpants. My kids are going to be going with their dad here in a little bit, so I will have the evening to myself. I think I'm probably going to watch some AuthorTube. I'm going to work on this project, at least try and get another big chunk of it knocked out so I don't have as much to worry about tomorrow when I have the baseball game and Sunday when I'm doing Sunday stuff. But yeah, and then I will try and get back into my habits, and I will check in with y'all later. Hey y'all, it is now Saturday afternoon and I am just about to go to my last baseball game of the season. So sad. But before I do that, I just wanted to check in with you guys really quickly and let you know that I finished that stupid project. I worked on it pretty much all evening when I got home yesterday. Not all evening, that would be disingenuous. I worked on it for a couple hours last night. Fortunately, this last portion was a lot easier than the first portion. One of the resources that they had like kind of provided for us kind of provided the answers for this last portion, like to the T, for this last portion of the project, of the paper that they were asking us to, you know, do. So I thought that was kind of funny when the first portion had so few answers and I had to go digging. But anyway, point is, I worked on it last night, got a big chunk of it done, and then just now I was like, oh shit. I was thinking about it, and I have quite a lot of things that I want to do tomorrow. I need to finish filming this fall reset video, and for that I want to go do a little bit of shopping. I want to go to the bookstore. What my plan is to kind of reset my writing space and set it up for Finish Your Book Fall to be a little bit more intentional and more seasonal and just a little bit more aesthetic for the event. And then my partner wants to play this new game that is in beta with him because he knows that I'll like it. I have to do laundry and just all the other usual things. So I've got quite a bit I want to do, and I was thinking like, do I really want to spend any of that time doing homework? And I also know that this baseball game is going to take like a good 6 hours out of my day, and I won't be back until this evening, and I'll be too tired to do anything like that. So I just went ahead and knocked it out, and I'm glad that I did. I don't think it was my strongest effort, but I can't care about that now. Like, there's just my advisor was saying, like, I just need to get through this one. If I could just get through this one and pass it and not have to think about it again, I think I'll be feeling good. But anyway, this video has kind of taken kind of a wild turn from thinking about habits to just like a mental crash out to getting back on track, and now kind of scrambling in the 11th hour to get ready for Finish Your Book Fall, but thanks for coming along anyway. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Well, good morning. It is now Monday morning and I am back outside my work, ready to start a whole new week, but not before I wrap up this vlog. So, if you may recall at the beginning of this vlog, the intention was to establish 3 new habits in preparation for Finish Your Book Fall. Getting up early, taking a shower, and reading in the mornings, doing at least an hour of video editing every day, and doing at least an hour of writing every day. And how did those habits shake out? Well, not great, as it turns out. Wednesday was the day of my big crash out about my homework, and I spent Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and part of Saturday doing the homework. Actually, I don't think I worked on it on Wednesday. I just wigged out. I did spend, you know, my evenings on Thursday and Friday for sure doing homework, and then I got up and finished it on Saturday. I did get up early. I mean, I have to get up early because I have to do the school run or I have to get my kids up. So I'm up anyway, but I was pretty consistent about getting up. I did read most days, although there were some days where the reading was like maybe 2 pages. So that worked out fine. I think the reason it worked out fine is because, again, I have to get up. Editing was a little bit of a struggle because for some reasons, since I've been back from vacation and dealing with like all this mental slump stuff, editing has been really like not fun and not like appealing, and really like I want to avoid it. But I did manage to do some edits, I would say 4 out of the 7 days. So I'm improving there. Obviously, if I want to, you know, establish it as a habit, I need to be doing it every day. And then writing, I did like 1 day of writing, which is not great because the whole point is to do the writing. But I've got hope for this week for reasons you will have to watch next vlogs for. But I think that I can get back in the saddle this week for sure. And I think that's about it. So this has been a long, winding vlog that started with good intentions and ended with, well, I finished my homework. And for that, I'm not going to complain because I was really worried about it. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. If you like my content and want to support the channel, please like and subscribe or consider leaving a comment down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, let me know in the comments which habits you have that took the most effort to establish. The day that this video goes up, I will be hosting my very first Finish Your Book Fall live stream. I hope you attend and look forward to it, and I will see you then. Bye.